Hello everyone, welcome back to the Story Nook. Today we are going to be reading more of The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum with pictures by W.W. Denslow. This copy that I'm using as my reference is from the Internet Archive. It's a free source, you should totally check it out. They have a gajillion other things that are very, very helpful and useful. So yeah. I also have my cat Nova in the room. He came inside. We're still waiting on whatchamacallits. That delivery I'm still waiting on that I mentioned several episodes ago. And I decided to see how live streaming as I read on Twitch would work. No one ever enters my stream, so it's fine. But we are going to be continuing on with... We finished Cowardly Lion. So we are on Chapter 7, The Journey to the Great Oz, which is on page 53. Once again, I love these illuminated manuscript art pieces. I think they're awesome, they're wonderful, and I love them. That is my phone getting notifications upon notifications. People I follow are live. Wasn't aware that was a thing you can do. What is this? Something weird is happening on my phone screen. As I get spam calls. Alright. Don't know what that was. It was weird. But let us carry forth. Checking for deliveries as it is now dark with eerie yellow lights outside. But welcome to Chapter 7. I already forgot what the title of this chapter was. The Journey to the Great Oz. Last chapter we met the Cowardly Lion. I had a blast. They were obliged to camp out that night under the large tree in the forest, for there were no houses near. Nova, are we messing with things? Please don't unplug my things. I will cry if you do. Another spam risk. I should probably start answering those. Fuck with them. Nova, sweetie, please don't mess over there. All the computer wires over there. Why do you have to do this? It scares me when you do. They were obliged to camp out that night under the large tree in the forest, for there were no houses near. The tree made a good, thick covering to protect them from the dew, and the Tin Woodman chopped a great pile of wood with his axe, and Dorothy built a splendid fire that warmed her and made her feel less lonely. She and Toto ate the last of their bread, and now she did not know what they would do for breakfast. "If you wish," said the lion, "I will go into the forest and kill a deer for you. You can roast it by the fire, since your tastes are so peculiar that you prefer cooked food, and then you will have a very good breakfast." "Don't, please don't," begged the Tin Woodman. "I should certainly weep if you kill a poor deer, and then my jaws would rust again." But the lion went away into the forest and found his own supper, and no one knew what it was, for he didn't mention it. And the Scarecrow found a tree full of nuts and filled Dorothy's basket with them, so she would not be hungry for a long time. She thought this was very kind and thoughtful of the Scarecrow, but she laughed heartily at the awkward way in which the poor creature picked up the nuts. He patted his hands. His padded hands were so clumsy and the nuts were so small that he dropped almost as many as he put in the basket. But the Scarecrow did not mind how long it took him to fill the basket, for it enabled him to keep away from the fire, as he feared a spark might get into his straw and burn him up. So he kept a good distance away from the flames, and only came near to cover Dorothy with dry leaves when she lay down to sleep. Because the Scarecrow is a kind person. Still no delivery truck. Why is it that now when, like, I record via live streaming, my phone's just like, here is 5 back-to-back scam calls? Like, the fuck? So weird. Where was I? Lay down to sleep. These kept her very snug and warm, and she slept soundly until morning. When it was daylight, the girl bathed her face in a little rippling brook, and soon after they all started toward the Emerald City. This was to be an eventful day for the travelers. They had hardly been walking an hour when they saw before them a great ditch that crossed the road and divided the great forest as far as they could see on either side. Your phone keeps saying it's switched to a different device. I'm gonna have to see what that is later. What sentence was I on when I got distracted? Yeah. They had hardly been walking an hour when they saw before them a great ditch that crossed the road and divided the forest as far as they could see on either side. It was a very wide ditch, and when they crept up to the edge and looked into it, they could see it was also very deep. And there were many big, jagged rocks at the bottom. The sides were so steep that none of them could climb down, and for a moment it seemed that their journey must end. I know, Pep. What shall we do? Asked Dorothy, despairingly. I haven't the faintest idea, said the Tin Woodman, and the Lion shook his shaggy mane and looked thoughtful. But the Scarecrow said, We cannot fly, that is certain. Neither can we climb down into this great ditch. Therefore, if we cannot jump over it, we must stop where we are. I think I can jump over it, said the Cowardly Lion, after measuring the distance carefully in his mind. Then we are all right, answered the Scarecrow, for you can carry us all over on your back, one at a time. Well, I'll try it, said the Lion. Who will go first? I will, declared the Scarecrow, for if you found that you could not jump over the gulf, Dorothy would be killed, or the Tin Man badly dented on the rocks below. But if I am on your back, it will not matter so much, for the fall would not hurt me at all. I'm terribly afraid of falling myself, said the Cowardly Lion. But I suppose there is nothing to do but try it. So get on my back, and we will make the attempt. Still no crack with the delivery I'm expecting. The Scarecrow sat upon the Lion's back, and the big beast walked to the edge of the gulf and crouched down. Why don't you run and jump? Asked the Scarecrow. Because that is the way we lions do these things, he replied. Then giving a great spring, he shot through the air and landed safely on the other side. They were all greatly pleased to see how easily he did it, and after the Scarecrow got down from his back, the Lion sprang across the ditch again. Yay, Lion! Dorothy thought she should go next, so she took Toto in her arms and climbed onto the Lion's back, holding tightly to his mane with one hand. The next moment it seemed as if she was flying through the air. And then before she had time to think about it, she was safe on the other side. The Lion went back a third time and got the Tin Woodman. And then they all sat down for a few moments to give the beast a chance to rest, for his great leaps had made his breath short, and he panted like a big dog that was running too long. Do. Oh, poor guy. They found the forest very thick on this side, and it looked dark and gloomy. After the lion had rested, they started along the road of yellow brick, silently wondering, each in his own mind, if ever they would come to the end of the woods and reach the bright sunshine again. To add to their discomfort, they soon heard strange noises in the depth of the forest, and the lion whispered to them that it was in this part of the country that the Alcaraz lived. "What are the Alcaraz?" asked the girl. "They are monstrous beasts, with bodies like bears, and heads like tigers," replied the lion, "and with claws as long and sharp that they could tear me in two as easily as I could kill Toto, and I'm terribly afraid of the Alcaraz." "I'm not surprised that you are," returned Dorothy. "They must be dreadful beasts." The lion was about to reply when suddenly they came to another gulf across the road, and this one was so broad and deep that the lion knew at once he could not leap across it. Still no delivery car. Also, my husband hasn't called me to tell me he got off work yet. That one's odd. Normally, he's off by now, which means his job decided to kidnap him. That is the only conclusion that can be made at this moment. My husband was kidnapped by his job. Because he is normally off by now, and he is yet to send me a message saying otherwise. That or he is on the phone with his mom. I'm gonna hope that he's on the phone with his mom. So they sat down to consider what they should do. And after serious thought, the Scarecrow said, "Here is a great tree, standing close to the ditch. If the Tin Wood Man could chop it down so that it will fall to the other side, we can walk across it easily." "Yay, Scarecrow! Problem solving." "That is a first-rate idea," said the lion. "That is a first-rate idea," said the lion. "One would almost suspect you had brains in your head instead of straw." The woodman set to work at once, and so sharp was his axe that the tree was soon chopped nearly through. I heard a car engine, but it is no delivery vehicle. The neighbor is home. Then the lion put his strong front paws against the tree and pushed it with all his might, and slowly the big tree tipped, and fell with a crash across the ditch, with its top branches on the other side. They had just started to cross this queer bridge when a sharp growl made them all look up, and to their horror, they saw running toward them two great beasts with bodies like bears and heads like tigers. For anyone who is new here, The Wizard of Oz was originally written in 1900. It was published in 1900. The very first book. There's 14 of them that were written by the original author. Queer back then meant strange, odd, unusual. So you'll hear it a lot in this story. So yeah. Meanings of words can change over time. I don't feel like diving into the linguistics of words at the moment. Also, I hope you're all having some water or something to drink. I currently have Gatorade Lime Cucumber as my drink of hydration choice Feel free to grab your water, coffee, tea, whatever it be, and stay hydrated. "They are the Alcaraz," said the Cowardly Lion, beginning to tremble. "Quick!" cried the Scarecrow. "Let us cross over." So Dorothy went first, holding Toto in her arms. The Tin Woodman followed, and the Scarecrow came next. The Lion, although he was certainly afraid, turned to face the Alcaraz, and then he gave so loud and terrible a roar that Dorothy screamed, and the Scarecrow fell over backward, while even the fierce beast stopped short and looked at him in surprise. Welcome in, Ty. Feel free. We are in chapter 7 right now. But seeing they were bigger than the lion, and remembering that there were 2 of them, and only 1 of him, the Alcaraz again rushed forward, and the lion crossed over the tree and turned to see what they would do next. While stopping an instant, the fierce beast also began to cross the tree, and the lion said to Dorothy, "We are lost, for they will surely tear us to pieces with their sharp claws. But stand close behind me, and I will fight them as long as I am alive." "Wait a minute," called the Scarecrow. He had been thinking that was what was best to be done, and now he asked the Woodman to chop away the end of the tree that rested on their side of the ditch. The Tin Woodman began to use his axe at once, and just as the 2 Alcaraz were nearly across, the tree fell with a crash into the gulf, carrying the ugly snarling brutes with it, and both were dashed to pieces on the sharp rocks at the bottom. "Well," said the Cowardly Lion, drawing a long breath of relief, "I see we are going to live a little while longer, and I am glad of it, for it must be a very uncomfortable thing not to be alive. Those creatures frightened me so badly that my heart is beating yet." Checking again for that delivery vehicle, still not here. "Ah," said the Tin Woodman sadly, "I wish I had a heart to beat." Oh, Ty, since you're new here, I don't know if you've read the Wizard of Oz books. This is my first time reading it, but the Tin Woodman, the reason he's made out of tin is he proposed to a Munchkin woman who was absolutely beautiful. She said she wanted him to have a bigger house before she would agree to marry him. She lived with an old woman who was very lazy and wanted the girl to stay doing the housework. So she went to the witch. It was just like, "Hey, I'll give you 2 sheep and a cow if you make sure this marriage doesn't happen." And so the Wicked Witch of the East cursed his axe, and it chopped off his limbs one by one. He got them replaced with tin, and then it chopped his body in half, taking his heart with it. And then the tinner came, remade his body with tin, but he has no heart, and he no longer loved the maiden girl. And so he's just like, "She's probably still waiting for me, for I have no heart." And yada yada. It was a very sad story to learn about 2 chapters ago. But yeah. So, I feel bad for the Tin Man. His backstory I was not prepared for. This adventure made the travelers more anxious than ever to get out of the forest, and they walked so fast that Dorothy became tired and had to ride on the lion's back. To their great joy, the trees became thinner, and farther they advanced, and in the afternoon they suddenly came upon the broad river, flowing swiftly just before them. On the other side of the water, they could see the road of yellow brick running through a beautiful country, with green meadows dotted with bright flowers, and all the road bordered with trees hanging full of delicious fruits. They were greatly pleased to see this delightful country before them. "How shall we..." I gotta figure out how to read this. "How shall we cross the river?" asked Dorothy. "That is easily done," replied the Scarecrow. "The Tin Woodman must build us a raft, so we can float to the other side." So the Woodman took his axe and began to chop down small trees to make a raft, and while he was busy at this, the Scarecrow found the river bank a tree full of fine fruit. This pleased Dorothy, who had eaten nothing but nuts all day, and she made a hearty meal of the ripe fruit. But it takes time to make a raft, even when one is as industrious and untiring as the Tin Woodman. And when night came, the work was not done, so they found a cozy place under the trees, where they slept well until the morning. And Dorothy dreamt of the Emerald City, and of the good Wizard Oz, who would soon send her back to her home again. And we have this cute illustration of Dorothy on the lion's back that I think is cute. I enjoy these illustrations. My husband finds them disturbing. I don't know about y'all. I'm going to look out my window, check to see if there is any, whatchamacallits, the delivery truck. There is none. Alright. And so this is chapter 8.